and this is my presentation. Thank you for being here while I take you through my research. As you see on the slide, I worked on the topic Indicators of Social Constructivism in Virtual Learning During the Pandemic. I'm an educator in Warsaw, Poland, and I work with the middle and high school students. And at the onset of the pandemic, our school went online. Now, this sets the premise of the study because we as a society are very habituated to a physical school building. A physical school is a place where the following thing happens. And so, the idea of a school building to provide for academic learning, recognition and development of skills and talents, a socializing platform, a challenge medium, and a safe place when parents are away for work is deeply rooted socially. These functions of a physical school very closely align with the social constructivist school of thought. That is, learning is based on the learner's cognitive interaction with the surrounding, both living and non living. This makes culture and context the cornerstones of this theory. I will discuss this further in a moment after I disclose the inquiry question for this research, which is: to what extent did the e learning that happened amidst the COVID 19 pandemic follow the social constructivist principles of learning? Since all progressive physical schools are designed for this, was this practice carried over to the virtual classroom? This brings us back to what is social constructivism really about. It is one of the three subsets of constructivism. For brevity, I will only discuss social constructivism, which is also called dialectical constructivism. In the simplest terms, it is a theory of learning that is based on the premise that learning is a personal thing and is constructed on the learner's interactions with the surrounding atmosphere at the biological, psychological, sociological, and physical levels. It has been propagated by Vygotsky in the conception of the zone of proximal development, where he said that the less knowledgeable students learn when the more knowledgeable teachers scaffold knowledge for them. So we can summarize that according to social constructivism, learning does not necessarily follow a very predictable route, but has partially unpredictable outcomes based on how the learner chooses to interact with the factors around them. This notion was also clear in the works of Skinner. A study conducted by Partlow and Gibbs in 2003 amalgamated the ideas of social constructivism and cybergogy. Cybergogy is pedagogy but for the cyber world. With the help of eminent personnels in these fields, they presented a list of 7 factors that an e-course must include in order for it to align with the social constructivist archetype of learning. Within these groups that are on the screen right now were a list of indicators, total 110. Now, in the study itself, the specialists on the panel rated these indicators for their importance. As all the 110 indicators were too large to handle, I selected the top 35 for my research. The top 35 had an average rating of 4.1 and above on a scale of 5. On the current slide, you can see the highlights for my methodology. So what I did next was I took these indicators and transformed them into simplified questions and sent this out as a survey to most of my students in grades 6 to 10. So these were some questions that were on the survey. For the questions that I thought were a little difficult, I also gave examples, and the students were explained in the class how they should approach a question, what does 1 mean, what does 5 mean on a Likert scale, and also they could reach out to me if they needed some clarity over any question. The participation rate was overwhelmingly high. Needless to say, I was very happy as a researcher and a teacher. 90 of the 111 approached responded, and the chart on the screen shows the class-wise participation for each grade. Next, I analyzed this data in 2 ways. In the first case, I calculated the frequency percentage of each answer and made a class-wise chart. These can be seen on your screen next. In all grades, three-fourths of the class had sometimes, often, or always experienced this culture of learning. The only exception was in classes with infrequent instructions, where only 50% approximately said that they had had a class which was open ended or where they were leading it in some way. This result was not very disappointing, rather expected, because it's not a big secret that in K 12 education, almost all classes begin with some explicit instructions being given by the teacher. These instructions provide the basic building blocks for the learner, or simply it is the teacher setting the stage for learning. Next ahead, I analyzed each category by taking an average of the scores and drawing a median for this. A median of 3.5 was set as the acceptable benchmark. As you can see on the screen, the median in all cases was above a 3.0, except again infrequent instructions, the reason for which I had stated earlier. A final grant analysis showed that the overall median was a 3.6, which established that the e course was designed to meet the social constructivist school of thought. A median of 3.6 can be justified as a good score by the fact that a student cannot be expected to answer always for all the questions on the survey. As a fact, all activities cannot happen in a single classroom parallelly. For example, a student will not answer always for being involved in a project or always for carrying out group work, and this definitely would justify a 3.6 as the accepted value. In summary, a survey was conducted with the middle and high school students. The questions on the survey were determined to find out whether the students experienced learning that was set in culture and context. A median of 3.6 confirmed that they did work in a social constructivist atmosphere while studying online. It is important to state here that all students, while having been provided the same learning environment, would have had slightly different outcomes of learning. And this falls under the assumption of social constructivism, because the same route may be treaded differently for different outcomes, the onus for which lies on the learner. I'd like to end here and thank you for all your time, and thank you for listening patiently to my study. And if you have any questions about my work, I'd take them now.